All right, dry, looking good. Now we got to remove all of this water-based clay. You can reuse this if you want to for your other hand, which I would recommend. It's still pretty soft. Like I said, this stuff doesn't dry out too quickly. Just be real careful because you got your sculpture underneath here. All right, I've pulled most of it off. I have right between the fingers now, which I have to be really delicate. I have a sculpting tool. You just have to be careful not to nick your fingers. When I pulled this piece off, it all came off at once, and I was grateful that it didn't bend the fingers anywhere. They were pretty secure in there still. So I'm just trying to pull out the rest of this clay here, and then I can clean up my mold. I still have clay, dispersed through the mold still, as you can see, but I just want to get these fingers kind of cleaned out a little bit. Like I say, I'm trying to avoid touching them. So I've cleaned most of the clay away from the hand. There's still some near the hand and tucked inside here, but I don't want to bring a tool that close because I don't want to affect the skin texture. So I'm taking water and a stiff bristle brush, and I'm going to slowly break it away from the hand. This is a kind of a tedious process. You're trying to get the clay away without damaging your sculpture. Right now I'm just pushing it down away from the clay sculpture, and then I'll take my sculpting tool and grab what I can away, and then eventually I'll be able to just rinse it away with water. So I've totally removed the clay. I've taken this chip brush and really just push it along the edge there just to clean it out. Used a lot of water, and then I sopped up the water and then just kept going until I got it totally cleaned out. So this whole side here looks really nice. Now I'll start on this side. Okay, I've gotten all of the clay off the hands and around all the seams. Took a while, but it's part of that process. I cut down some chip brushes so they're a little more, a little more durable, so they can really kind of push in there and get the clay out. That's what I used it for. So I did that and cleaned up the hand pretty well. I don't see any real damages. I had a couple little nicks that I just repaired. It was pretty easy. What I do now is I'm going to actually clean up the edges of this mold here so I can make it more easy to put the next one on top of it so it fits. And if you look down on it, you can look down and see if there's any deep returns, because if anything goes underneath, goes this way under, then it's going to lock your mold together. So you want to clean all your edges up really good and anything that you think will lock the mold. In other words, by locking the mold, I mean that when you make this part, you can't get them apart. They're locked together. And the goal is to make sure that it doesn't do that by cleaning up all your edges. So some of the tools I'm going to use to trim this plaster off is my rasp and my regular blade that I use for clay cutting. And also I'm going to use a knife. And this is I'm going to be using it gently, so you have to be very careful because you can really cut yourself. And I'm just using it to kind of go along the edges and clean up all the edges. And I'm trying to go away from me, and I'm not putting any hands or anything in front of the blade. So you just have to be very careful. The mold is really clean and real nice looking. All the keys are set. And now I'm ready to put a wall around this, add my Vaseline, and pour the second side. I've glued all my 2x4s and 1x4s on here so I can minimize the amount of clay that I'm going to add, because I'm just going to build a wall up, and it's only going to be about 2-3 inches tall. And I put it all the way around it, so I'm ready to go. Now what I need to do is Vaseline all of the plaster, even a little bit on the edge here. You need to try and get Vaseline really coated, not thick, but just a real good, nice film of Vaseline throughout the entire plaster mold. None on the clay. You don't have to put any on the clay, just on the plaster. And I'm taking it right to the edge here. I'm not overlapping the Vaseline because I don't want a buildup on my fine edge. I just want it right on the edge there. And like I said, I'm putting some on the sides a little bit just to be safe. I'm ready to pour plaster. I'm going to do a little quick acrylic spray on the edges here, and what also I'm going to do is I'm going to add some these little tiny wedges here against the edge of the wall. And the reason is that what it's going to do, it's going to give me a little gap so that when I'm ready to pull the molds apart with a screwdriver, I can just push it into that clay area and I'll be able to pull my molds apart. There's one of my wedges, and the other wedge is on this side, right there. So those little wedges are going to be clay gaps in the plaster that I can shove my screwdrivers in, which I will show later. What I'm showing you here is my bucket that I had my plaster in, that I mixed it in. I have a piece of burlap here, and I'm going to scrub all this plaster out here because I want to reuse this, this container for my plaster again. And if you let it dry in here, it actually damages the plastic because it grabs onto it. And then when it grabs onto the plastic, it's really hard to get the plaster out. And then I'll rinse this out, and I will pour this directly into my garbage, not into my sink. This plaster will destroy your sink. It will settle in the pipes and plug them, and it'll be like concrete in there. So you always pour this in the garbage, not in your sink. It's starting to heat up, so I'm going to add my next coat right now. This is, like I mentioned, I think a little earlier, that this is how you actually also make a mold for foam latex. Is you use burlap to strengthen the mold so it doesn't crack and reinforces it. That's one layer. I'm going to put one more layer of burlap. Now I'll let this plaster thicken a little bit, and then I will coat the rest of this and make it kind of round on top, flat and a little bit around on the edges. Now I'm going to wash my brush to get all the plaster out of it so I can use it again. Right, mold is done. It's still a little hot, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this sit and cool totally down. Then I will be able to pull it apart. You can see right here is my little clay spot that I made. Remember that little wedge there? There's one of them. And here is the other one right here. So I have two spots where I can put my screwdriver and pop it apart. I could have put one here in the front, which I should have, but I didn't, but it's okay, because once I lift this up, the whole thing will be pretty loose, and then I'll be able to pry it away. But there's the opening where I'll be able to pour my silicone. You can also use this as a latex mold. If you use it as a latex mold, then I wouldn't recommend using it for any silicone, because latex does inhibit silicone. It'll make the silicone not set very well. It'll be really sticky. Unless you seal the mold with an acrylic or something, you know, paint in like some kind of a shellac or something inside of it, then you can use it for silicone after you've used it for some kind of a latex or even foam latex. But this is going to be used for my silicone hands that I'm going to make. Mold is cold. Let's go ahead and open it. Remember the key spots I made? One here and one here. Coming apart. I already see that it's got a gap, which is excellent. I see a lot of detail of skin texture. That's really, really nice. It looks like I got a really nice line here. So I think I got a pretty good mold. The mold turned out really nice. I need to clean all the clay out of this one. So now I gotta cast the second hand. I'm digging the clay out with this little loop tool and a toothpick. The reason I'm using a toothpick is so that I can get along the edges and I won't damage my plaster detail. And then once I get enough chewed up in there, I will reach in with this loop tool and try and grab more out. Trying to stay away from the edges and just being very delicate. And there's a fingertip. So I got two done. Now I'm going to work on the pinky. And just keep going.